This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, following the violent attack on the religious compounds of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, many children had to undergo debriefing sessions after seeing the shocking scene that happened on June 10. To recall, authorities, clad in combat gear, forcibly entered their homes, leaving many youths severely traumatized. Meanwhile, a lawyer and President Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s former executive secretary strongly condemned the Philippine National Police's attack on the religious compounds of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. For Atty. Rodriguez, such acts are a systematic violation and discretion of human rights. In other news, the Bigas 29 program of the government is set to kick off. However, the National Food Authority admitted that there is an insufficient supply of rice to several Kadiwa centers. For our top global stories, Julian Assange is now free. The United States, however, wants the sensitive documents that the WikiLeaks founder obtained to be destroyed. Let's find out more about this later on. And voting is underway in Iran's snap presidential elections, with 4 candidates in the race to be the next successor of the late President Ibrahim Raisi. I am Franco Baranda. Newsline World starts now. Children as well as the youths who were present during the June 10 attack at a KOJC headquarters in Davao City underwent debriefing sessions after their experience with officers who were supposed to be their protectors. Jean Domingo reports.
The Children's Joy Foundation Incorporated, in partnership with the Jose Maria College Foundation Incorporated, initiated a psychological intervention for children and the youth who were there at the June 10 attack at the KOJC's religious compound in Davao City to address possible problems that may arise due to the stress brought about by the incident. Various psychosocial activities and debriefing sessions were laid out for both the children and the youth, aimed at assessing and addressing their experiences and emotions during the fateful event. The social workers acknowledged the need to make them express their feelings to unload the emotional baggage that may in the future affect their well-being.
Partly, ina-assess natin yung mga emotions nila, yung mga experiences nila, no? Yung debriefing, after the assessment, nagawa tayo ng mga debriefing na wherein ina-address natin yung mga emotions nila through counseling. Kung titingnan natin, magwa 1 month na siya, but then the feeling, yung takot, no, na every time nakakarinig sila ng siren, kahit na rinig lang ng mga motor, ng mga airplane na boses, since malapit tayo dito sa airport, it really makes them feel na ano na naman kaya ito, yung mga ganito. Andun yung takot andun yung kaba na baka pupunta na naman yung mga police. So dito, which is a really indicator na yung mga youth natin who are involved on that incident is really experiencing na distress talaga, which really naka-apekto din sa kanilang well-being.
For the children, Bandala noted that while they had various experiences during the raid, they were still not excused on the stress and the fear that the incident caused them.
They were able to see the mga police. Still, hindi pa rin sila excuse doon sa stress na experience. Kasi as we were able to ask them, how do you feel during the nakita niyo yung mga sundalo, mga pulis, natakot po kami, sabi nilang ganon. But it's good that the kids were able to identify the emotions that they have. Kailangan i-address yung mga emotions na yun. Though sabihin natin, it's normal lang yung emosyon na takot, pero Ang ano lang doon, ang nakaka-alarm lang is until now, andun pa rin yung takot, no? Na which is hindi dapat na it should the kids should feel the peace, no?
If left unaddressed, these experiences and emotions might lead to post-traumatic disorder and other long-term effects.
Regarding with this one, kumbaga, they were not expecting kasi na ganun talaga yung mangyari in the long run. So, syempre, yung concern natin is yung mga bata. So, they will develop an acute stress disorder. So, pag hindi siya maagapan, ma'am, so, possibility na maging ano siya, it will cause to post-traumatic stress disorder. So, yung mga yung sa nangyari sa KOJC, yung mga police na malaki talaga yung impact talaga, ma'am, na syempre mga bata nandoon, hindi lang mga bata, hindi yung mga matanda.
Prior to this, the social workers also visited the children at the KOJC religious compounds at the Prayer Mountain and the Glory Mountain in Tamayon, Davao City for psychological debriefing sessions. A series of debriefings are planned for the children, the youth, as well as the adults residing at the various KOJC religious compounds that were attacked on June 10. These activities aim to help them overcome the fear, anxiety, and distress caused by the said attack, with the goal of healing them and bring positivity back into their young minds. For God and our beloved country, the Philippines, I am Jean Domingo, your citizen correspondent in Davao Region.
After the legislative hearing in Congress on the Duterte administration's war on drugs, former presidential spokesperson Atty. Harry believes that the true purpose of the hearing is not in aid of legislation. Carlo de la Peña reports.
Former presidential spokesperson and international lawyer Atty. Harry believes that Congress plans to embarrass former President Rodrigo Duterte in its investigation into the war on drugs campaign. This is because the case against the former president at the International Criminal Court, or ICC, is unlikely to proceed. To recall, President Marcos Jr. reiterated that the ICC has no jurisdiction in the Philippines because the country's justice system and police force are functioning.
Tingin ko hindi sila sigurado na matutuloy ang kaso sa ICC. So kung hindi matutuloy ang kaso sa ICC, nais nilang mapahiya ang dating Presidente Duterte maski man lang sa Kongreso.
Although Roque said he knows the former president will not attend such hearings, he still questions its true purpose. He also said that this is not in aid of legislation.
Bakit magiging in aid of legislation ang investigasyon tungkol sa di umanong mga extralegal killings? Samantalang, meron bang kinakailangan na batas? Hindi ba sapat yung ating murder? Hindi ba sapat yung ating international humanitarian law na po pwede ring litisin ang murder bilang war crimes or crimes against humanity or genocide? Wala na hong bagong batas na po pwedeng maipasa ang Kongreso dahil pati nga po yung ating international humanitarian law dito sa Pilipinas, naging batas dahil nga sa mga panahon na yon, hindi pa tayo pumapayag maging miyembro ng ICC. Ibig sabihin, wala na nga pong dahilan para umakto ang ICC sa mga kasong yan dahil dito sa Pilipinas mismo, yung Rome Statute na pinapatupad ng ICC, ginawa na rin batas dito sa Pilipinas. Ibig sabihin, pwede ng mga hukuman sa Pilipinas ang maglitis sa mga tao na gagawa ng krimen sang-ayon sa international humanitarian law na inulit lamang ang mga provisyon ng Rome Statute.
Republic Act No. 9851, or the Philippine Act 2009 on Crimes Against International Humanitarian Law, Genocide, and other crimes against humanity was enacted on December 11, 2009. This law, based on the Rome Statute, strengthens the punishment against the most serious crimes of international concern, such as genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. Attorney Roque pointed out that proving someone's involvement and guilt in a crime should be done through the proper process in the prosecutor's office and courts, not in Congress, stressing that the legislature is not a court. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
For the camp of expelled Congressman Arnie Teves, he can still appeal to the Timor-Leste court to reverse its decision to the extradition request made by the Philippine government. The Justice Department, on the other hand, remains confident that a court's ruling for the extradition of Teves will not be overturned. Margaret Gonzalez reports.
The DOJ now expects expelled Congressman Atty. Teves to return to the Philippines after Timor-Leste Court of Appeals upholds extradition requests made by the Philippine government. DOJ spokesperson Asik Miko Clavino stated that the Philippines has won the extradition case following the information from the Attorney General of Timor-Leste that the court has granted the request to extradite Teves to the Philippines. But Teves' camp appears to belittle the DOJ's statement. According to Teves' legal counsel, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, the battle is not over yet, as they can still appeal the court's decision, saying that it is too early for DOJ to say that they have won. Furthermore, they also have the option to apply for political asylum to prevent Teves from being extradited. Topacio added that even if his client is brought back to the Philippines, they still need to prove Teves' guilt in the accusation of killing Negros Oriental Governor Rubaldigamo. DOJ Undersecretary Raul Vasquez, on the other hand, confirmed a 30-day period for the opposing camp to file an appeal. However, he stated that even if Teves' camp appeals, the Court of Appeals decision may not change, especially if there are no new arguments to present.
Unless there are new matters, arguments, or pieces of evidence that would be presented, normally the same body would maintain their decision. We are very confident that the same decision would be rendered and the motion for reconsideration or the appeal would be denied in due course by the Timor-Leste judicial authorities.
He explained that the Philippine government has properly explained the independence of the judiciary in the country and ensures that accused individuals are given due process in their cases. DOJ has not yet received a formal copy of the decision, but he suggested that this could be the possible reason why the Timor-Leste government granted the extradition request for Teves.
The certain issues that they raised were found to be baseless. Number one, that the judiciary is not independent in the Philippines. Second, that our judicial system is not working, and that the human rights here are so bad that the accused would not have a chance of fair and impartial trial. Fourth, that if ever he would be brought back in, he would be subjected to torture or even possibly killed while in detention. And that in the event of trial, that he may be meted and found convicted.
Yusek Vasquez also mentioned that Teves has long been appealing for political asylum and has not been granted by the Timor-Leste government. He also said that Teves may be rearrested while the decision of the court for his appeal is pending, given that his passport is already cancelled.
Because that person, subject of the extradition, is already an undocumented alien from the point of view of Timor-Leste officials. Why? Because the Philippines had already cancelled his passport. So it's now a question really of what do they have to do, and that's a policy decision on the part of Timor-Leste authorities whether or not to arrest him for purposes of making sure that he won't slip out of Timor-Leste.
DOJ Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla said Teves' hide-and-seek games will soon come to an end and he will no longer be able to evade the multiple cases against him in the Philippines. To recall, in March 2023, Rubaldigamo was assassinated and 10 others also died. The incident occurred in the residence of the late governor. Teves is identified as the mastermind behind the killings and injuries of 18 individuals. Teves was arrested in Timor-Leste last March. Meanwhile, Rubaldigamo's widow, Pamplona Mayor Janice Digamo of Negros Oriental, can't help but feel emotional, saying that the fight for justice for her husband was very difficult. She also claimed that threats against her has yet to stop. Nevertheless, she will continue to seek justice for her husband. For God and the beloved Philippines, this has been Margaret Gonzalez, SMNI News.
The Development Budget Coordination Committee has laid out a proposed 6.352 trillion pesos national budget for the upcoming year. According to the DBCC, the proposed budget for 2025 is 10.1% higher than the 2024 budget. President Catarong will give us the details.
The proposed national budget for fiscal year 2025 is set at 6.352 trillion pesos. This was announced by Department of Budget and Management Secretary and Development Budget Coordination Committee Chairperson Amena Pangandaman following the committee's 180th meeting. According to Secretary Pangandaman, the 2025 proposed budget is 10.1% higher than the current national budget of 5.768 trillion pesos for 2024. The Secretary further disclosed that the proposed budget accounts for 22% of the gross domestic product of the Philippines and that a significant portion of the funds is allocated for sectors such as education, health, social protection, and agriculture.
Agriculture will remain to be on top. We will still increase our investments in agriculture to ensure food security, infrastructure development, of course, and digitalization and climate projects.
The Secretary explained that the reason for the 10.1% increase in the proposed budget is due to the upcoming midterm elections next year. In addition, the national tax allotment for local government units is also higher, and there is a new signed law that increases teachers' allowances.
Expansion of the 4Ps, we already included the first 1,000 days. We budgeted for that. Next, we also budgeted the recently signed law, yung teacher's allowance from 5,000 to 10,000, among others. Yeah.
The proposed budget is scheduled to be presented at the Cabinet meeting on July 2. The DBCC will submit the proposed budget to Congress on July 29, a week after the third State of the Nation address. The proposed 2025 national budget is anchored on the theme Agenda for Prosperity, fulfilling the needs and aspirations of the Filipino people. The 180th DBCC meeting was also attended by National Economic and Development Authority Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs Secretary Frederick Go, and several officials of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and Department of Finance. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
Up next, the UAE and Egypt are ready to join the reconstruction efforts for post-war Gaza, but only under several conditions. Philippine officials and their Japanese counterparts are set to hold a ministerial meeting in July that involves defense and security issues in the region, and possibly an agreement that would allow their militaries to visit each other's soil. More news when Newsline World returns.
Abangan ng Banateros tuwing Lunes hanggang Huwebes, live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banateros, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan. Yan ang Banateros.
Kung akong tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito panatag ang loob ko.
Magandang umaga po, sir. Utang po.
Utang. De kalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
spiritual, you don't have to have a doll in order to become a witch. When you psychologically hurt someone, you are a witch. You know how a witch is hurt spiritually? A cold shoulder, mental abuse, physical abuse is witchcraft. Soul winners are not like that. Soul winners are winning souls through love, peace and joy, meekness, gentleness, goodness, kindness. Whether you are on the first, second, or third level of spiritual growth, we are all participating in the same body. We have a care for everyone in the body. Whether you are part of the feet, which is the lowest of all, whether you are in the hand, or whether what part you are, one to another, there is participation of love. That's why Jesus Christ said, love one another, that the world may know you are my disciples.
Ang buot sa Diyos, kitang mga katawhan, tunay espiritong mupadayon o muantos. Kay dakitan sa Diyos sa unahan, basta mahimo ka ng anak sa Ginoo sa gingharian, daghan ang mga pagsulay. Kung way pagantos, di ka makalahutay. Kung walay pagkamakanunayon, dili gyapon ka makalahutay. Ang tuyo sa Diyos, nga ang matagos nga gitawag, makalahutay. Makalahutay lamang sa mga pagsulay, kundili sa pagtubo nga makaabot siya sa ikaupat nga laka nga dito na manukat ang iyang reward.
Back in our news, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who exposed the war crimes of the United States by leaking U.S. classified document, is now a free man following a plea deal with the U.S. government. The United States wants to have the sensitive materials that Assange obtained destroyed. And in order to know why, his lawyer simply said to just ask the U.S. government. The story from Sara Santos.
We've just negotiated the return of an Australian citizen from the most powerful country in the world who were prosecuting him for doing journalism.
Julian Assange walked free from a court in Saipan on Wednesday after pleading guilty to a single charge of espionage. The hearing's location in Saipan, a U.S. Commonwealth in Northern Mariana Islands, was reportedly due to its proximity to Australia and Assange's own opposition to traveling to the United States.
Today, the espionage case against Mr. Assange in the Eastern District of Virginia was formally dismissed, and the case against him is over, formally and officially. It's a case that never should have been brought, and I hope that we never have another case like it. The United States has never previously prosecuted somebody for publishing classified information, in this case, information that was plainly newsworthy and in the public's interest to know, information that revealed war crimes by the United States government, information that revealed that civilian casualties were exponentially higher than the United States government had admitted. That is not just journalism, that is journalism at the highest level.
While Assange's offense carried up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, Judge Ramona Manglona accepted the plea agreement and imposed a sentence of time served, amounting to the 62 months he spent in the UK's Belmarsh prison. It can be remembered that Assange had been detained in the London prison since 2019 and fought a long-running extradition battle with the US with over 18 charges related to the release of classified documents involving the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. He was initially granted political asylum by Ecuador in the British capital in 2012, but was dragged from the embassy by UK police 7 years later. For Stella Assange, wife of Julian Assange, her husband only pleaded guilty to committing journalism.
This case criminalizes journalism, journalistic activity, standard journalistic activity of news gathering and publishing. And so this is the reality of this prosecution.
Part of Assange's plea deal with the US government requires him to have the classified materials he obtained destroyed, and his lawyer made a comment regarding this.
You'd have to ask the United States government why they insisted on including that clause. In fact, the United States in court in Saipan yesterday conceded, and the judge found that there is no evidence that any harm has befallen any individual anywhere in the world as a result of Mr. Assange's publications.
Meanwhile, the court insisted that Assange issues an instruction to the editor of WikiLeaks to destroy any materials they might have that were not published, and the founder has complied with that provision and issued that instruction. On the other hand, Stella, who was seen embracing her husband when he landed in Canberra on Wednesday, shared that Julian simply plans to enjoy his freedom.
Julian plans to swim in the ocean every day. He plans to sleep in a real bed. He plans to taste real food, and he plans to enjoy his freedom.
Reporting, this has been Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
The number of slain rebels has risen following an encounter between the military in Nueva Ecija. The additional casualties among the rebels are all female. Carlo de la Peña reports.
The Philippine Army has identified 5 out of 7 members of the communist terrorist group killed in the encounter with the military in Barangay Malbang, Pantabangan, Nueva Ecija last Wednesday, June 26. According to the 84th Infantry Battalion of the Philippine Army, the slain rebels were part of the Central Luzon Regional Committee. The identified rebels include Hilario Guillo alias Berting, Acting Secretary of KRGL and recognized commander of the Regional Operational Command; Harold Sarenas Mendoza alias Luzon, commander of Platoon East Central Luzon; Pepito Trinidad Bautista alias Dailan, team leader of SQD Tercera Platoon East Central Luzon; Reynan Mendoza alias Mel, and Archie Anceta alias Joel. Authorities are still working to identify the remaining 2. In the said encounter, soldiers recovered 10 high-powered firearms, 1 low-powered firearm, subversive documents, and personal belongings. Meanwhile, in an interview with Colonel Louis de Maala, spokesperson for the Philippine Army, during a search and clearing operation a few meters from the encounter site, they found 3 more rebel bodies, all women. They also found 4 firearms. It is believed these were abandoned by their comrades while escaping from authorities.
Dahil sa continuous yung search operations ng ating mga tropa ay nakita ulit itong additional na 3 na mga bangkay ng members ng CPP-NPA at kasama yung kanilang mga firearms. At itong tatlo na nakita na ito is mga 3 babae na kumbaga pinaghinalaan natin na iniwan ito ng mga kasamahan nila habang patakas doon sa area ng encounter site.
Brigadier General Norwin Joseph Pasamonte, commander of the 703rd Infantry Brigade, commended the 84th Infantry Battalion's success against the communist CTG group in Nueva Ecija and their efforts to maintain peace and security in the area. Alongside condolences to the bereaved families of the rebels, De Maala also stated that the government did not fall short in reminding the CTG to surrender. Currently, the government is preparing the bodies of the terrorists for a decent burial. The government once again calls on remaining members of the CTG to surrender and be given the opportunity to live in peace. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
A snap election to find former President Ibrahim Raisi's successor after he died from a tragic car crash last month started in Iran. 2 hardline candidates loyal to Supreme Leader withdrew from the race 1 day ahead of voting, which narrowed the number of contenders to 4. Melchizedek Cadis has a story.
June 28 marked a significant turn in Iran's domestic and foreign policy as billions of Iranians returned to the polls to elect their new president. Of the 6 candidates approved by the Guardian Council, 2 candidates quit the presidential race a day before the election. Government official Amir Hossein Ghazizadeh Hashemi announced his withdrawal on Thursday, citing efforts to strengthen the forces of the revolution. Tehran Mayor Alizera Zakani also dropped out of the race on the same day. Of the four candidates left, lawmaker and former Parliament Deputy Speaker Masoud Pezeshkian, who advocates dialogue with Western powers, was the only pro-reform politician on the list. Voting was rescheduled to start at 8 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. local time. The elections took place 1 year earlier following the sudden demise of former President Ibrahim Raisi, who died from a helicopter crash on the 19th of May. Before his death, 63-year-old Raisi was widely considered as the potential successor of 85-year-old Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who currently holds the most powerful political position in the country. The critical election, watched by Iran's allies and foes worldwide, took place amid concerns it could end up just like the parliamentary elections in March that saw the lowest number of voters not seen since the foundation of Iran in 1979. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
Defense and foreign ministers from Japan and the Philippines will meet in Manila next month for talks. Let's hear more from Ria Saito.
A 2+2 foreign and defense ministerial meeting between the Philippines and Japan is set to take place on the 8th of July. Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa and Defense Minister Minoru Kihara will sit down for talks with their Philippine counterparts, Enrique Manalo and Gilberto Chodoro Jr., more than a week from now in Manila. Bilateral as well as defense and security issues in the region, in the face of recent tensions with China, are expected to dominate the talks. Philippines and Japan have been negotiating a reciprocal access agreement, or RAA, that would allow their respective militaries to visit each other's soil, with a key defense pact expected to be signed during the talks. The meeting serves as the highest consultative mechanism between the Philippines and Japan, which started in Tokyo in 2022. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, this has been Ria Saito, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
When we come back, the Bigas 29 program of the government is set to kick off. However, the National Food Authority admitted that there is an insufficient supply of rice to several Kadiwa centers. Brazilian President Lula da Silva is demanding Argentina President Javier Milei to apologize for his insulting remarks against Brazil. More news after the break.
Children will grow up and bring the joy, the love, the peace, and compassion to the whole world. We only have one planet. We only have one Earth. And I hope that this new generation of children that we have reached out will become millions and billions and bring peace on Earth. Bring peace to humanity. Anything that tries your faith and puts you on the spot of deciding whether to continue or to stop is a fire. Whether it is persecution, whether it is loved ones, family, anything that will try your faith, whether to continue or to stop or to overcome or draw back, it is called fire. Now, salvation is based upon our building up on the foundation. Whether silver, gold, stubble, precious stones, that means if it is gold, then it's genuine. It can go through the fire, but it will stay. When your confession of commitment and dedication is not true, when the fire goes through you, you will be burned. That's why I love my ministry. Because all of those that are able to overcome are certified 100% pure gold. Pure gold. Hypocrites have no place in the kingdom nation. Pretenders have no place in the kingdom nation. Plastics don't have place in the kingdom nation. Why? Because before we can be ushered into the new world, we should be tried by fire.
There are so many who question me, why are you called the appointed Son of God? Isn't there only one Son of God? Don't you know that all of you are sons of God? Children of God, all of you. Children of God, sons and daughters of the Father Almighty. When the devil came and took over, we became children of the devil without us knowing it. That's why he sent his son there in the Middle East. His name is Jesus Christ, to be crucified on the cross so that you and I will become like him. I am from a Gentile nation. You are from a Gentile nation. My father and mother are pure human beings. He saved me first so that he could save you through me. He is looking for a body where he can dwell here on this earth that is not religious, that cannot be used by religion alone. He alone can use that body. And I told him when he called me, Father, I'm here, use me. And I came here, and the Father is using me. I am not being used by religion. I'm not being used by denomination. I'm being used by the Father Almighty. And He sent me here to tell you that this is now the time for you to become sons and daughters of God, just like me.
The National Food Authority, or NFA, no longer denies and admits that they can only supply about 10,000 metric tons of rice to several Kadiwa centers for the government's Bigas 29 program. This falls short of the 60,000 metric tons demanded by Kadiwa centers each month. Shira Torno for the details.
Nanita Duquitom purchased rice at 29 pesos per kilogram only once at a Kadiwa center in the Department of Agriculture office. She shared that she was prohibited from buying more because she did not qualify or belong to the vulnerable sectors prioritized to purchase rice at the subsidized price. She insisted that life is difficult for her too, so she should also be allowed to buy the cheap rice offered by Kadiwa.
Dapat pantay-pantay. Hindi lang yung single parent o poor piece kasi lahat naman kumakain. Para makabili ng murang bigas, siguro mahirap talaga lalo na yung pag-arawan ka lang.
By 8 in the morning on Friday, the cheap rice stock at the Kadiwa in the Bureau of Animal Industry was sold out. According to some day employees, they only had 166 bags of 3 kilograms rice supply for the day. They said they are now stricter because those who have already received 3 kilograms of rice cannot repeatedly join the line. Anyone holding 2 identification cards of different individuals must show an authorization letter. The National Food Authority admitted that they can only provide nearly 10,000 metric tons or over 140,000 bags for the upcoming nationwide rollout of Bigas 29 in July.
Sapat ba yung stocks natin para sa mga kababayan natin?
Hindi. Actually, initial lang naman kasi yun eh. The DA will source ng bigas. Magsasource sila ng bigas para i-sustain ito.
This means they need to find other sources of supply for rice sales. This is far from the 60,000 metric tons of rice needed to be supplied to Kadiwa sellers every month.
In phase kasi yan eh. Una, 10 kadiwa lang. Susunod na buwan, magiging 20. Tapos, dadami. Hindi po si NFA magsusupply ng kabuuan na yon.
The rice supply sold at Kadiwa comes from NFA's aged stocks. They said it can be still consumed by people, but they can't guarantee if it is turning yellow because they don't have a color sorting machine. DA spokesperson Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa also mentioned guidelines are set for Bigas 29 scheduled to be released next week. They might increase the number of Kadiwa sellers selling aged rice. They also aim to reach 30% of the vulnerable sector or 6.9 million families by the end of the year.
Magkakaroon ng availability for doon sa mga vulnerable sectors. Tuloy-tuloy hanggang end of the year.
For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
Indonesian authorities arrested dozens of Taiwanese for their alleged involvement in a cybercrime operation in the country. The arrest took place days a week after hackers infiltrated the country's data centers and disrupted hundreds of government services nationwide. Anissa de Guzman reports.
Indonesian immigration officials raided a villa on the resort island of Bali on Friday, resulting in the arrest of 103 Taiwanese people suspected of operating a cybercrime ring. Authorities arrested 12 women and 91 men, as well as seized hundreds of mobile phones and other electronic devices. The foreigners were accused of conducting activities related to cybercrime and of misusing their visas. The Taiwanese nationals will be deported, but Indonesian officials could not file charges against them since the alleged crimes fell outside their jurisdiction. The sting operation happened a week after a group of hackers infiltrated Indonesia's national data center, disrupting the services of more than 200 government agencies at both the national and regional levels. Authorities at home and abroad joined forces in investigating the attack and to retrieve data held hostage by the hackers. The attackers demanded an $8 million ransom in exchange for access to the data, which the government refused to pay. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
The newly elected Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands visited Australia, which marked his first diplomatic trip abroad since he was appointed to the post in May. Risha Molina will give us the details.
Solomon Islands Prime Minister Jeremiah Manelli was warmly received by his Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese in the capital city of Canberra. Manelli's trip marked his first visit to the neighboring nation after being selected as the 13th Prime Minister of Solomon Islands in May. The newly elected Prime Minister made it clear that the creation of jobs for the citizens of the Solomon Islands was the main purpose of his visit. Manelli assured that Australia remains his country's partner of choice, while Albanese pledged to help double the number of police force in the Pacific Island nation to 3,000. A former foreign minister and career diplomat, Manelli rose to power after former Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavari said he would no longer extend his term, citing media abuse that affected his family. Sogavari then endorsed Manelli to replace him, with both of them under the same political party and sharing a friendly stance towards China. Under Sogavari's rule, the Solomon Islands ended its diplomatic ties with Taiwan and switched allegiance to China in 2019. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
The president of Brazil demanded apology from Argentina for saying a lot of things against his country. Federico Veloso will tell us more.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva believes his Argentine counterpart, Javier Milei, owes an apology not only to him but also to the Brazilians
for saying a lot of stupid things about the South American nation.
According to Lula, he would not speak to Milei until the latter apologized.
He has not talked nor faced the Argentinian leader since he was announced president in December.
Milei, a self-described anarcho-capitalist and ally of far-right former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, has openly criticized Lula during his election campaign.
The outspoken Argentinian president has called his Brazilian counterpart an angry communist and corrupt, and even threatened to cut relations with Brazil.
Presidential spokesman Manuel Adorni responded to Lula's request, stating that Milei has nothing to regret
with what he had stated, at least for now. His statement added fuel to the fire and escalated tensions between the two leaders. Brazil also asked for information about dozens of Bolsonaro supporters seeking refuge in the neighboring South American nation. Brazil accused Argentina of sheltering the Bolsonaro supporters to avoid legal consequences for storming the capital of Brazil last year as part of an alleged coup attempt. This has been Federico Veloso, your global citizen correspondent for SMNI News.
Up next, in the United States, the long-awaited face-off between former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden commenced on CNN's presidential debate. The whole world watched the two rivals brawl it out to earn the hearts of American voters for the November 5 elections. Stay tuned for more news.
Kibuloy is a threat to peace and order in the country.
Father, you have ordained leaders for the development, prosperity of our country, no matter what. The scriptures are very clear. And the scriptures tells us to put them up in supplications and prayers, that they may do the right thing, that they may guide our nation towards peace and development and prosperity.
Before I become extinct, I'd like to say to you, talagang you're the son of God.
Sabi nga nila, di ba? You will know them by their love. Yun ang sinabi sa Biblia. It's not on how good you are in quoting the scripture. It's giving love.
Grabe, hindi talaga hindi talaga kasya yung words eh. Kung paano natin i-express yung ating na-experience.
Mismo wala akong masabi. Kita ko kasi yung pagiging generous. Alam mo, madali kasi magsalita ng Diyos eh. Pero pagdating sa pera, pagdating sa pagiging generous, yung pagtulong sa iba, hindi biro yun. Maraming bagsak dyan. Maraming bagsak. Kaya ako nakikita ko yung pagiging generous niya. Hindi sa salita eh. Sa lakad. Bilib ako. Hindi dakdak. Nakita mo sa gawa. In one word, authentic.
Kanang inyong mga cellphone, pagbantay mo sa inyong mga isultihan ta na mo sa una. Pornography is a spiritual adultery. Kanang pornography, labaw pa na sa shabu. Maddaot imong uto ka na, labi na kung ikaw niya ka sa king na ministry, pahingon taglangit. Doon na imong kalaban. Because it will destroy everything that was implanted to you spiritually that will let you go to heaven. Pornography is the number one missile of the enemy that will destroy you and your soul to hell. Ayaw jud mo pagtanaw pornography, babaeng lalaki sa inyo. What is dangerous now with cell phones? You can go into the privacy of your room and look at your cell phone without anyone. Only God knows what are you looking at. And mostly, people go to the dark side of the door going to destruction to hell. And that is pornography. It destroys the mind. It destroys the soul. It destroys your spirit.
tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso, pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito, panatag ang loob ko.
Magandang umaga po, sir. Full tank po.
Full tank. Kung gusto mo ng dekalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
There are so many who question me, why are you called the appointed Son of God? Isn't there only one Son of God? Don't you know that all of you are sons of God? Children of God, all of you. Children of God, sons and daughters of the Father Almighty. When the devil came and took over, we became children of the devil without us knowing it. That's why he sent his son there in the Middle East. His name is Jesus Christ, to be crucified on the cross so that you and I will become like him. I am from a Gentile nation. You are from a Gentile nation. My father and mother are pure human beings. He saved me first so that He could save you through me. He is looking for a body where He can dwell here on this earth that is not religious, that cannot be used by religion alone. He alone can use that body. And I told Him when He called me, Father, I'm here, use me. And I came here, and the Father is using me. I am not being used by religion. I'm not being used by denomination. I'm being used by the Father Almighty. And He sent me here to tell you that this is now the time for you to become sons and daughters of God, just like me.
Complaints continue to pour out from overseas Filipino workers regarding the missing balikbayan boxes sent to the Philippines. A group of OFWs cannot help but feel disappointed over the Marcos administration's inaction of this issue despite their persistent pleas to address the problem. Carla de la Peña reports.
These overseas Filipino workers have been going back and forth tirelessly to the Senate, hoping that their plea for an investigation into the thousands of victims of missing balikbayan boxes will be heard.
Sana po, pero nakakadismaya lang. Ako, sobra po akong nadismaya.
Ruchi and Rosa Marie are both OFWs from the Middle East. They sent their balikbayan boxes to the Philippines last year at a time when they were still working abroad. Balikbayan boxes or repatriate boxes contain items sent by OFWs to their families and loved ones in the Philippines. But what's painful is that even though they have returned to the Philippines this year, the balikbayan boxes, which their families expected as the fruit of their hard work, seemed to have vanished into thin air in an instant.
Nakakapagod na rin eh. Tapos nakailang balik na kami sa Senado, walang aksyon. Kumbaga, pinasapasa na lang kami kung kani-kanino. Tapos nagkarating na rin kami sa Baguio.
Nananawagan po ako na sana po maibalik sa amin ng mga biktima na aming pinaghihirapan na pinag-iipunan doon na maipadala sa aming pamilya. Marami po sa mga kasama ko sa bahay na biktima rin sila, 4 na karton.
Jeffrey Balsa, chairman of OFW Assistance, is leading the search for missing OFW balikbayan boxes. He has tirelessly pursued the requests in the Senate for an investigation.
Pabalik-balik na lang po ako sa Senado. Hindi po ako nagsasawa para tumulong sa ating mga OFW, pero wala pa rin pong investigasyon until now. So hanggang kailan kami maghihintay? Kailangan pa bang mag-viral kami? Kailangan pa ba mayroong magbuwis na buhay sa aming mga OFW?
According to Balsa, cargo shipping companies abroad and in the Philippines are blaming each other for why OFW balikbayan boxes don't reach their intended destinations. Shipping companies also allow the Bureau of Customs to decide whether to abandon or auction off the balikbayan boxes.
Si cargo sa abroad, mangungulikta ng balikbayan boxes, mangungulikta ng, siyempre, kasama bayad, mangungulikta ng bayad, tapos ipapadala sa container. Pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, itong si cargo, ang sinasabi nitong mga local forwarder, hindi nagbayad sa kanila. Kaya ito naman si local forwarder ngayon is hindi niya ngayon matubos-tubos yung kailangan ng mga bayaran doon sa Bureau of Customs. Kaya natingga na po, kaya inaabot ng mga 1 taon.
To recall, last March, Senator Lito Lapid filed a resolution for the Senate to investigate the complaints of thousands of OFWs about missing balikbayan boxes. In his Senate Resolution number 950, Lapid also seeks answers about incidents involving missing contents from balikbayan boxes. However, until now, OFWs have not felt the impact of this resolution.
Nadismaya ako sa administrasyon. Bakit napakatipid nyo ng aksyon sa aming mga OFW. Di ba? Bagong bayani kami. Di ba? Napakalaki ng share namin sa bansang Pilipinas.
On June 13, the office of Senator Jinggoy Estrada released a letter stating that Senator Lapid's issued resolution had been referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, where Senator Win Gatchalian chairs. OFWs remain hopeful and continue to appeal for a resolution to their long-standing issue.
Nawagan po kami kay President Bongbong Marcos na sana po kami naman po yung tulungan ninyo. Kasi gaya po namin na matagal lang naging OFW, nakakapagod na rin po mag-ibang bansa sa totoo lang. Malayo sa pamilya.
Kay President Bongbong Marcos, sana po matulungan po kaming lahat ng mga OFW sa aming mga hinaing.
For God and My Beloved Philippines, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
A high-ranking U.S. official announced that the United Arab Emirates and Egypt are ready to join a post-war Gaza security force. However, the two Arab states agreed to do so under several conditions. Let's find out more from Gratri Omori.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said his trips to the Middle East have made progress after Abu Dhabi and Cairo agreed to take part in managing the affairs of the besieged territory once the fighting ends. Blinken traveled to Qatar, Egypt, Israel, and Jordan 2 weeks ago. The Emirati and Egyptian forces will work alongside local Palestinian officers. Both the UAE and Egypt presented their conditions for involvement in the initiative, including linking the project towards the formation of a Palestinian statehood. Additionally, Egypt suggested the complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, while the UAE has demanded U.S. involvement in the post-war Gaza Security Force. Negotiations for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas still encounter political deadlock as the death toll in Gaza has reached almost 38,000. Reporting from Dubai, I'm Gratero Omor, your Global Citizen correspondent for SM9 News Channel.
Protesters rallied outside CNN's headquarters in downtown Atlanta ahead of the presidential debate between U.S. President Joe Biden and his rival Donald Trump, as activists vowed to disrupt the proceedings in protest of the two presidential candidates. Several groups of protesters from across the political divide rallied outside the debate venue on Thursday, with Trump and Biden supporters and critics present in the area. The demonstrators also rallied various causes, such as the campaign to stop U.S. war machines and end the war in Gaza by a group of pro-Palestinian protesters. Apart from slogans and chants, authorities considered the rally as peaceful overall. No violent clashes were reported and no protesters were arrested. Meanwhile, Democrats panic after U.S. President Joe Biden's poor performance during a presidential debate with Republican challenger Donald Trump earned heavy criticism. The face-off saw Biden appearing to lose his train of thought and tripping over words as Trump slammed him for being the worst president in the history of the United States. The debate was supposed to be an opportunity for Biden to help ease concerns about his physical health and old age, but it seemed the opposite happened. Tens of millions of American voters witnessed the 90-minute face-off between the two rivals as they clash on various local and international issues. With his shaky moments exposed on national TV, top Democrat lawmaker urged Biden to stop his bid for re-election after his poor performance reignited concerns about the 81-year-old president's age and fitness for such a heavy political role. Thailand signed an agreement with Taiwan to protect bilateral trade and investment under the self-ruled island's new administration. Chatwangkampi Samay-Goson reports.
Thailand became the fifth country to have signed an investment agreement with Taiwan in 2016. Thailand and Taiwan signed the Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement following more than 2 years of talks. Taiwan's new southbound policy seeks to enhance cooperation and exchange between the self-ruled island and 18 countries in Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Australia, including Thailand. Previous signatories of the investment agreement with Taiwan included the Philippines, India, Vietnam, and Canada. Taiwan and Thailand previously signed an investment agreement in 1996 but was no longer up to date with today's trading environment and international investment practices. The new deal was designed to form a joint committee, improve dispute resolution practices, and provide more transparent investment information between both sides. The new Thai representative to Taiwan said the Southeast Asian country was open to more Taiwanese investments. Taiwan is known worldwide for its leadership in the semiconductor industry, while Thailand hails itself as an electronics manufacturing powerhouse in Southeast Asia. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Shanmongkon Visamagoson, your Global Citizens correspondent for SM9 News Channel.
And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the Son. As long as you are sincere in seeking for salvation, the Father will not lead you astray. And that's all for this edition. For more news updates, you may visit smninewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Franco Baranda, and this is Newsline World.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.